In this presentation, we want to take a look at the primary elements behind a successful photo story, a checklist of photos you'll want to include. We'll review the essay narrative theme and some tips on interacting with your subject, and then we'll take a look at an example of a successful student photo essay project for your reference. As we discussed in the previous module, here are the primary elements behind a successful photo story. The first, of course, is the theme that ties the photo story together, and a person as the main subject. We want to include the issues of conflict and how those conflicts are resolved. We, of course, want visually appealing photographs, a supportive narrative, and a storytelling organizational structure that ties it all together. Here's a checklist of the different types of photos or the photographic styles that you'll want to incorporate. The first is decisive moments. Those are candid subjects, human interaction and connection, perhaps juxtaposition, and tension about to resolve, or fleeting moments and expressions. We also want to look at including visual variety, which are wide shots, medium shots, close-ups, and a variety of high and low angles, and the extreme close-up, which is also the detail shot, and that contributes an image that we wouldn't normally see, and it's something we'd like to have that adds to the story. Here's some additional photo checklist items. You want to make sure you have a portrait of your main subject. That could be a posed environmental portrait or a casual portrait. You want to make sure you have sequence photos, which is the beginning, that it captures attention and encourages the viewer to continue the story, the middle, which provides the main content of the story, and the ending, which includes a closing shot that brings this story to its conclusion. We also want you to think about the 4 C's, which are good content, candid moments, good composition, and appealing color. The essay narrative theme starts with a catchy headline or title for your first page, and that should accurately depict what the photo story is about. You may include the beginning photo on the title page if you wish, or use your own creativity to generate interest. The narrative theme, which includes the title and captions, should work in harmony with the visual theme to enhance and explain the story as it progresses. Now I'm thinking at this point in the course, you understand what are the essential elements of a journalistic style, caption, and narrative. It's the who, what, why, when, where, and if it's appropriate, how, that you need to explain the story. You want to introduce the subject early in your presentation, but spread the additional narrative throughout the story. In other words, don't repeat information in your caption. Now here are my thoughts on interacting with your subject. If you get to know your subject pretty well, you can tell him or her what you're doing, why you're doing it, and develop understanding and rapport. If you shoot extensively, the subject will eventually ignore you, and you can really get some very nice candid shots that are very natural. Next up is an example of a photo story by a former JTC 335 student for your reference. I hope it contributes to your understanding of what makes a successful photo story and will help in the execution of your shooting, narration, and story development. Whitney's photos and narratives are a pretty good example of a comprehensive and visually appealing photo essay. The story has a conflict and a resolution, a beginning, middle, and ending, and her photos demonstrate tight composition, visual variety, and a feature style of photography with candid and decisive moments. The wide shot here establishes the scene and introduces us to the subject. The close-up provides detail, and the narrative introduces the conflict. The art student, pressed for time, is hoping for a good grade on her advanced pottery project. This low-angle sequence adds visual variety to her story. This close-up creates a connection with the subject, while the narrative continues to explain the story. It's a slow process and takes much patience. This series of close-ups provides angles and visuals we wouldn't normally see, even if we were standing there observing the subject while she's doing this work. The subject's concentration is a good example of a candid and decisive moment. This medium shot also provides transition from beginning to a midpoint in the story. The high angle obviously adds a new perspective that we haven't seen in this A up until this point. Another medium shot keeps the story moving, continues to provide details about the processes and the tools used to make pottery. A medium shot that expands our understanding of the story. These close-ups also help explain that a second pot is necessary, as we'll see in the final shot or clincher that ends the story. The environmental portrait and narrative conclude the story and explain the resolution to her conflict. The project turned out well, and she feels like she's likely to get a very good grade. By way of summary, here are the primary elements you'll want to include in your photo story. A theme, including a headline, that unifies the photos and captions. You'll want to use a person as the main subject and incorporate the concepts of conflict and resolution. Of course, we want visually appealing photographs that demonstrate your skills based on all the different assignments that we've had for this course. You'll want supporting narrative and a good storytelling organization that provides a logical beginning, middle, and end. So good luck. I look forward to seeing your photo story soon.